there, everyone, and welcome back to Mortis FM, a Star Wars podcast. I'm Grayson, one of your hosts.
I'm Cole, turning one of your hosts into two hosts here today. Grayson, Acolyte episode 3.
Yes, what is this one called? I have it pulled up. Destiny. The video game. No, not even close. Yes, Acolyte episode 3. Not controversial in the slightest at all.
No,
with
I
anybody in the Star Wars fandom.
I think everything was just super. I think everyone was very happy about what they heard.
Yes.
Nothing but praise and accolades, you know?
Seriously, here's what I'll say. Our last episode was very successful in terms of how many people were exposed to it. So hey, if you're new here, welcome, because we also passed 250 subs, and that we're very grateful for that. However, some of you maybe have hopped on because you were like, I don't know. Some people watch these things with hateful intentions. So all I will say is, hey, if you didn't like the Acolyte or episode 3 or whatever, that's fine. All right. Mm-hmm. We are going to give our opinions, our thoughts. We are not critics. We are not really reviewers. Yes, we do have we are not people who shy away from criticism, but when there is not any to really be given, we don't really give it. So if you're also stumbling upon this for the first time, you haven't seen any of our stuff before, just keep that in mind, and hey, maybe be open-minded, and if not, that's fine. You do not have to watch us. So we are appreciative of anybody who gives us a chance either way. So yeah.
What about my uncle? You give him a chance. I'm sorry for the Spider-Man fans.
Spider-Man fans.
But yes, Grayson is 100% right. If you did not like it, you are perfectly entitled to that opinion, as are we for enjoying it. Mm-hmm. So thank you so much for continuing to watch if you do so.
Yes.
But thanks for checking us out regardless, and stick around if you like it.
Yes. Agreed. With that being said, what did you think of Acolyte episode 3? It's been a couple days. We were going to record earlier, which we also apologize for that. Just been a very busy week for both of us. So we're going to try we're trying to get the scheduling down. But yeah, what did you think of Acolyte episode 3, Destiny?
I liked it. Yeah, I thought it was enjoyable. I'm always a big fan of when new things and ideas that seem kind of non-intrusive are brought into the Star Wars universe, and I think that this was very original, and yet also pulled from sources that we know. And so I think overall I enjoyed it. I didn't expect for there to be an entire episode of a flashback, and even one where we didn't get all of the answers that we needed. But I think as far as an episode goes, it was still enjoyable and cohesive. It was good. It wasn't perfect, but it was good. I liked it.
I second that. Yeah, literally my only critique, just so I can get the negatives out of the way, was that the chant of the witches was a little goofy, and that was that was more so to just audio design. I think I don't think the lyrics itself were goofy. I just think I would have liked if it was a little bit more haunting, maybe, or a little bit more just I don't know how to describe it.
No, I agree. I think that there was. It feels like the rest of the scene was attended to, but there wasn't as much gravitas in the audio design as I think that there probably should have been in that moment. And then maybe my other nitpick is that, to me, it felt like the child acting was a little bit flat in certain areas. But I mean, that happens. It's to be expected. And also, kids.
They're kids.
You can't really say whether or not it's genuine because it's a child and they act all sorts of ways, as do adults too. But I
think a lot of people forget how children actually act, and so we were watching the show, and they're as May and Osha are pushing each other and stuff. They're like, why are they doing that? But then again, you go out into public and you're like, why are kids doing that? They're kids. There's not a whole lot of explanation 100%. Other than they are adolescent and kids do dumb things,
So again, like, I think that's a nitpick for me. It really didn't. I think the only time it really bothered me, and not like really, I just mean like that I can remember that I was like, was when, they just kept pushing each other.
Yeah,
but again, they're kids. Yeah. Like, I think I just felt annoyed because I'm not a kid, you know? And so I was literally like, I felt like I was probably in the audience just watching what the mother was doing and just going, cut it out, you know?
Yeah, just stop. Come on. What is this? Yeah.
But I think overall it was it was a good episode. It was very interesting. I was locked in the whole time.
Yeah, for me it's one of those things where like this episode what it did above all else is just made me extremely intrigued for the rest of the story, which I mean is, I would say, a testament to a good story, you know, in my opinion. I mean, like, it's intentional that the narrative in this episode is supposed to leave you in the dark in a lot of ways, you know?
Yeah. It's another one of those situations where it's like, oh, thank God we got those questions answered. But now I have like 15 more, you know what I mean?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and obviously, like we've mentioned, there's a lot of people who are just, you know, I would say like 85% of people are tearing up this episode specifically unjustifiably because it's without actual genuine critique, or with people out without even watching it, right? But
big whoop, people are mad at what's happening in Star Wars.
Yeah, what's new, man? And especially it's been pretty bad lately, but like, I think people sometimes forget, like, it's a show, it's a narrative. Like, people take a lot of what these characters are saying at face value and like then running with it, and it's like, we are not even halfway through the show yet, you know? Like, and so when these things get revealed or these things get shown, I'm like, well, when the show is done and over, and say that those quote problems that this episode has created, which I don't believe are problems, because I do believe that the show will continue to develop the ideas and reveal more to the audience or the characters. Yeah. When the show is wrapped, then I think people are allowed to be like, okay, what the consequences of the show, what did it do? But it's like, when you're 3 episodes into an 8-episode show, it's just kind of, you just kind of have to sit there and be like, all right, I'm going to let them cook.
It is so reactionary, man. A lot of internet society, to be honest, is very reaction based. You know, something comes out. I mean, like, technically you and I are reacting to this, but you can't just say, oh my God, I can't believe they did this, without knowing the whole picture. You only saw one perspective, basically, throughout that whole flashback, and you don't have all of the information. Essentially, it's like multiple choice, where it's like, not enough information to determine, you know, the solution, right? So, like, if you're still listening and you think that, you know, everything is just ruined, I'm not saying that it is impossible, but give it a chance, you know? Like, there's still 5 episodes left, right? We've only seen 3. And also, like Grayson said, you know, have an open mind. And one thing especially, when I think people are self-reporting so hard right now, because I don't think people are sorting between something that they don't like and something that is, from a filmmaking standpoint, not good. You know what I mean? Like, just because you don't like it doesn't mean that it is poorly made. Right. So, you know, like, and I can like something and know that it's like cinematic trash. You know what I mean? It's like the equivalent of, like, there's your guilty pleasure movies where you're like, this movie's not that great, but I enjoyed it anyway. And then in the inverse, where I'm like, I know this movie is critically and almost openly received. It's just not for me. You know? Yeah. I mean, here's an example, and, you know, people might give me some flack for this. I am not the biggest Tarantino fan. Yeah. I haven't seen most of his movies, but the ones that I have seen, I'm like, I wasn't really the biggest fan, you know, but I know that those are like solidly made movies, you know what I mean? So yeah, just kind of do some self-reflection and sort, because there's a lot of people that are like, oh my gosh, this is Disney trash. Like they're trying to make us like it through this, and that, and it's just okay. Really think about it, please, before you start, just word vomiting all over Twitter,
right,
or elsewhere. But yeah, that's tangential. Yeah, that's really all I have to say about that.
No, I can. You said it. You said it best. You used your natural ability to succinctly say things in also good and analogous. Is it analogous or it's analogous? Right. Yeah. Sure.
It's something. One of the two.
It's an analogy. OUS. That's what Cole does. He makes good analogies.
Analogous. Yeah.
So yeah, whatever. Words are made up. They're not real.
Thank you, Thor.
Yeah. Let's just address the so-called elephant in the room, I guess. Even though I did not bat an eye when I watched it, and I don't think you did either. The big reveal. The big critique, however you want to put it in this episode, has been really stemmed from the fact that allegedly, by Anastaea's point of view, from a certain point of view, she used the Force to create Osha and May, and that Mother Koril carried them. Okay.
Yes.
So here's what I'm going to say, and I would love your take on it as well. I'm sure you probably think similarly, because it's what we do. It's what we do. Another Spider-Man reference.
Yeah, it's what we do.
So here's the thing. A lot of people, they take this and they go, Anakin's legacy has been retconned, it's been ruined, it's been tainted, etc., etc., etc. I want before I just go out and say like I don't agree, because there's a lot of reasons why, and I'm going to get into them. But I just think deeply a little bit for a second. So,
oh God forbid people think deeply.
Like, so, okay. So what we know, let's look at Anakin's conception. Okay. So he was, as far as we know, we know this for a fact, unless there's something that comes along that drastically changes this, which I would say definitely be antithetical to Anakin's legacy, but he was immaculately conceived, okay? It has never been confirmed whether Plagueis created him, or maybe in new canon, maybe Palpatine created him, or if it was just the Force, all right?
Yeah.
There was an interview from 2005. Shout out to Will of the Force. He posted this. He showed this to me, where George is talking about Anakin's creation, and he's saying how it is up to the audience's interpretation that yes, there is a little seed that maybe a Sith Lord, maybe Palpatine's master created Anakin, but it's never confirmed.
Yeah.
But we do know that through the Force, whether it was another person controlling the Force or the Force itself, that Anakin was created.
Yeah.
So, the other thing is Anakin's legacy. A lot of people say, "Oh, well, now Anakin's legacy has been tarnished because now another group of individuals have been created through the Force." George Lucas also said this as well back in 2005. Anakin's legacy is not defined by his creation. Also, his legacy is defined by what he did, right?
Yeah.
Which was brought balance back to the Force. Okay.
Well, that's what the prophecy says, right?
Yes, that's what the prophecy says, and of course, misread the prophecy, but we may have. There's a lot of up in the air about the prophecy. Okay. Now here's the other thing. The twins' creation is apples and oranges when it comes to Anakin's creation. A lot of people are saying they're ruining the Chosen One prophecy. Osha and May have nothing to do with the Chosen One prophecy. Now, is it possible that the Council, that the Jedi think that they might be, one of them might be the Chosen One? That would be rational to think because of what the prophecy says, but we know that's not the case.
So the prophecy says.
Yes, for what it was foretold, but as the audience, we know that Anakin is the chosen one. This has been confirmed, doubly confirmed by many sources, especially in Lucasfilm. Dave Filoni, Jon Favreau, George Lucas. As far as we know, we don't know the full picture of Osha and May's creation. Yes, Anastasia says that she created them. And Mother Coral says, but when the Jedi find out on how you created them, all right, and we never get that, all right, that is left as a stinger, a little seed to be like, okay, well, how did she create them? Yes, from like legends and everything like that, we can kind of surmise that maybe it was Plagueis-like tactics, but also these witches, we do not know what they derive from yet. They could witches. They very well could be. I mean, they're not. They are not. I would not say that they are inherent dark side users, but they are not inherent light side users. They have some mixed tendencies, and that's just the philosophy of a lot of different Force religions. There's a lot going on at play here that we don't know the answers to, but the matter of the fact is that if we go with the take that here's my take. I'll just go ahead and say it because I've always believed that Plagueis thought he created Anakin, but Anakin was was entirely created by the Force and was it was created Anakin as a reaction to what Plagueis and Palpatine were doing. It realized that it needed to be balanced, and so they were like, oh, well, Plagueis is messing with life and all that, and he's trying to create this thing where the Plagueis book, even though Legends explains that the Force kind of bites back in a way, right? Or if you push it too far, it will push back, right?
The balance is more or less natural.
Yes. And the thing about the Sith is that they're trying to control it, right? Whereas the Jedi are trying to embrace it, let it flow through them as opposed to take grasp. And so when the Sith or these dark side users try to control the Force too much, the Force is like, we're not going to be controlled like that, okay? It's like,
you think you're special,
right?
Zap, and then suddenly something comes at you. We see your raise and we check it. Like literally, with gambling terms. The Force always meets your bet.
Exactly. So that's my take with Anakin. Now with Osha and May, my take is that I do believe Anastasia did take part in some. She is saying, at least what is her truth, that she did do it. However, I would not be surprised if, I don't think the Sith created them, but I would not be surprised if this external Sith, whether the one that we see in episode 1 or whatever, whether if that's the Master Apprentice, we don't know yet, manipulated that creation into turning one child that was being created into 2 children with and then being kind of 2 halves of a whole, and using that, taking advantage of that to create animosity towards the Jedi. All right, because May becomes the acolyte of the Sith. So that's my take. Will that be true? I don't know. But when I'm viewing it from that lens and from just the lens that we don't really know a whole lot, when I see people get in an absolute frenzy about this stuff, I just can't help but be like, oh my gosh, can we just think about this a little bit deeper? And also
think,
to
Mark,
say, exactly, and also nothing ever said, as far as I know. If I'm in the comments, correct me if I'm wrong, but I'm pretty sure because I read Plagueis earlier this year. Nothing ever said that nobody else could create people either. Say Plagueis did create Anakin, okay. Nothing said he was the first, and nothing said he'll be the last, That
was what I was going to say. Like, the prophecy doesn't say the chosen one, born of no father, and also the only person where that happened. It's not. That's just saying that that's something that happens. I mean, I wouldn't. So I'll just go ahead and say my take. I'm basically on the same page. I get really, really tired of people seeing something that happens and they're like, oh my god, this ruins, it ruins everything, and dude, Anakin has no correlation to this. Is there a connection here? Yes. Immaculate, impossible conception through the means of manipulating the Force. Yes, this is connected. That is the point, brother. stay seated. The video's not over. Like the movie's not over. And like it's like if we were in the theater, right? And they do that scene. And Coral and NSA are talking, and then everyone stands up. They're like, "What? I can't believe that they did!" And it's like 30 minutes into the movie, right? It's like the credits are not here. Chill out. You still got time. You know, there is a reason why this has been brought into light, because this is never something that has been talked about in Star Wars canon otherwise. So why do you think? I mean, of course, there's a connection. Calm down. You know, like it. So. There is something happening here. I think that there is some form of connection, and I would not be surprised if Plagueis was already involved or took inspiration from this event.
Yes, exactly.
Because the man, I mean, like, if you read the Darth Plagueis book, the man did his research. It's not something that he just came up with on a whim. He was constantly researching how to manipulate midichlorians and through the Force, and he says himself, specifically, people might have already done this, but the secrets were not kept, you know, passed on from master to apprentice, and so therefore that mystery is lost. I'll have to find out on my own. He literally says specifically that someone could have already accomplished this, but he doesn't know how because there's no evidence.
Yep.
This could be that person that accomplished this. So if this is like inspiration from Plagueis, or Plagueis' like first experiment, right? You never know. I would be totally fine with it, because we still have not seen this Legends character that Leslie, the director, is intending on bringing in. So, just saying.
Yeah.
Life conception through the Force, Plagueis. You know, like immediate connection there, right?
And I think people are gonna feel real silly. I'm not saying if it does happen, but if it does happen that Plagueis is brought in, people are going to feel real silly. Because, like...
people are going to be mad, too.
That's true. Yeah.
They're literally, I know, verbatim. They're going to go like, oh, Plagueis got inspiration from women? I can't believe that. He should have came up with it on his own. Like, you've got to be kidding me, man.
Oh, you're right. I hate that you're right about that, dude.
You know it's going to happen. And it's like, the director, Leslie, just wants people to come in and have them take all the credit for what Plagueis did. Like, shut up.
Dude,
Please.
Oh my gosh. Like, what if Plagueis, this is Plagueis' master, or yeah, like you said, takes inspiration, whoever, or what if even if this is Plagueis himself, and this is his first attempt, and it does not go right, okay? Like, it does not go well, and then that's where he's like, we gotta dial it back, you know? Because obviously we know that the Sith cannot be openly revealed to the Jedi, like just because of the way the dominoes roll. That doesn't mean that obviously we know that the Jedi will encounter the toothy Sith, but you know, because that's basically what I'll call them at this point.
The friggin' like Bullet Bill from Super Mario.
yeah. They took that. They took his.
Don't get me wrong. I love that helmet. He looks so cool.
It's mean, dude. Yeah.
But yeah.
Yeah. So there's our takes on the whole conception
I think it's cool.
Thing. It is.
I think it's cool because we haven't touched this idea since the prequels, right? And I mean, of course, when it was referenced again in like, you know, prophecy-based stories, but this is the only time that this has happened, and we got no further explanation. If you want to flesh it out, by all means, go ahead. If this is gonna be the entry for Plagueis, all means, go ahead, because no one's done it, so I'm fine with you doing it, you know, like, and I, listen, like, of course, I'm not and, you know, we're probably gonna get comments about this, no doubt.
Yeah.
But, like, people are gonna say, like, oh my god, they're just blindly following, you know, what Disney wants to do, like, it's okay if you don't want to go along with it, I get not wanting to go along with things. Believe me, I don't know if you guys watched our tier list episode. I'm not going along with Book of Boba Fett. You know,
there's things that we are critical of. Okay.
Yes, there is things that we are critical of, but lucky for me, I can sort between things that I don't like and things that I think are cinematically well made. Thankfully, the Acolyte is has both good things where I like it and I think it's well made so far. I'm intrigued by the idea. I'm always open to new ideas with Star Wars. So and to be frank, this isn't new. It was never said that Plagueis was the only guy that could do it. And it's not even confirmed if he was the one that, like you said, if he was the one that caused Anakin to happen.
The Plagueis book doesn't even confirm it. It literally goes, could this be? And then it's up to the audience to be like, interesting.
I mean, it's pretty obvious that he's related, but it hasn't been confirmed.
Right.
So,
and also, yes, of course, it is also a Legends book. So, I mean, yes, that stuff can be overwritten, but we know that is probably, other than the Heir to the Empire trilogy, the most revered piece of Legends content ever. Maybe that could be argued, or at least when it comes to the realm of books. Also, I want to say that I think the way they reintroduced this idea is very cool.
Yeah.
When I saw this coven of witches, all women, which we've seen with the Night Sisters before.
Yeah.
But they're the way they use the Force and their magic is much different than how these witches use it. But the idea, you and I are both DC fans, okay? Mm-hmm. And immediately I was like, this is like if all of the Amazonians on Themyscira were witches instead of warriors. and I was like, yeah, and so I was like, the idea that like the lead witch uses the Force to try to create children is
and
super
succeeds.
Cool. Mm-hmm. Seemingly,
as far as we know, succeeds. And by the way, like since we're on the topic, I'm just gonna go ahead and bring it up. I love the way that they interpret the Force.
Yes, and that was the very next thing that I was going to bring up is everyone is in a frenzy because, oh my gosh, they're redefining the Force. What?
Yeah.
What are you?
Yeah. I mean, has anybody been watching Star Wars content for like the past over a decade or so? Night Sister magic is the Force, homie. Like it's the Force is so malleable, right? It is not the light side. It is not the dark side. It is not Night Sister magic. It is not the thread, which this coven of witches now calls it, which I think is very cool. It is just this form of existence that permeates every part of the galaxy. And when interpreted in different ways, it appears like it manifests in different ways. So, I mean, I don't understand, like, nobody batted an eye when Palpatine, like, shot lightning from his fingers. They're just like, that's cool. And it's all because of this
the Sith view the Force different than the Jedi, but there's 100%, also...
yeah.
Let's take away the big two, Jedi and Sith, right? Mm-hmm. There are so many other factions and religions that use the Force. Ahsoka is not a Jedi. She is, like... the equivalent of like an agnostic Jedi, where yes, she believes in the Force and everything. Like there's an article that talks about like from by StarWars.com that breaks that down, and that's not exactly how they liken it, but that basically of like they don't like Ahsoka. Yes, believes in a lot of the way that the Jedi view the Force, but she does not abide by that code, right? That stricture. Then let's get away from kind of that. All right, you've got the Zepho. They view the Force very differently. All right, they're not Jedi or Sith.
Yeah, and they were old, man. Mm-hmm. We've got Purgil,
Yes.
They're just the
Lasat from Rebels. They also view the Force in a very different way. I don't remember what they called it, but the Force was very intrinsic to their species, and it was not. But it was they did not call it the Force. They called it something completely different.
The light or something like that.
Something like that. Like because they had one of Zeb's relatives, and it's been a minute. I need to rewatch this episode because I actually really enjoyed those. But that was one of the very earliest interpretations. What is it?
They called it the Ashla.
Really?
Yeah.
So maybe they believe in a more structured light side version.
Which I mean, I guess that means I wasn't technically wrong in which they call it the light. Mm-hmm. Yeah, it says the Lasan called the Force Ashla. Yeah,
interesting.
That is very cool. Well, okay. Well, now there has to be a species that worships Bogan. You know?
And then there's Bendu. Bendu's not Jedi or Sith.
Bendu, yeah.
That's one of the most fascinating facets of the Force right there is like, because we just still don't know what Bendu is. And I was reading the Dawn of, like what, and we'll never get answers, you know. There's also the Mortis gods, not Jedi or Sith, all right?
What the heck is that?
Yeah, you know, like there are so many examples of you know, different religions and faiths and factions, allegorical to the way our real world, how so many different faiths view God or higher powers, you know, and there's a lot of crossover there, you know, and I think that's really cool. But you know, what's really interesting is with the way Anastasia is talking about the thread, though, is not too dissimilar to the way Obi-Wan describes the Force. Do they call it different things? Yes. But it sounds pretty similar to me, man.
Yeah, I think they kind of refer to it as just kind of something that's always there that you can tug on, you know, like source from, but it's not something that you control, which is interesting because, you know, originally as Grace and I were watching this episode, because we watched it together, we were like, oh man, like they're absolutely Sith worshippers. But given stuff that we've heard, especially from Anastasia, like it doesn't seem like that's entirely the case because they, for one, I'll say they're very adherent to the idea of the power of many as opposed to just one person. That's very antithetical to Sith. The Sith are always like, you know, even two, you know,
ultimate
I don't even want to do that, you know? Yeah, it's all about like kind of that greed, like that wanting to take everything for yourself. But then also it's all about controlling the Force, forcing it under your will, you know, literally like bending it to your desires. Whereas Anastasia refers to it as something that you don't bend to your will. It's something that you just kind of work with. You pull on it and you work with it, but it is not something that you can control. So very antithetical to the Sith. And yet they seem to have no respect for the Jedi. They seem to have been hunted before. Whether or not that is by the Jedi, I can't say. Would be kind of interesting if it was by the Sith. It'd be kind of crazy. But
that's the interesting fact, because I mean, as far back as in Legends and stuff, and I think also this has been confirmed in canon, is the same way as that there were the Jedi, and then some of the Jedi left and became the Sith, you know? And it's like, what if that is intrinsically tied to that, and that's why they also have a disdain for the Jedi, because yes, the Jedi sourced the Sith a little bit, because I believe in Legends it was like the Jedi, you know?
Well,
or whatever.
they did seem to... the Coven did seem to be very worried if the Jedi were to find out that they were training children. Which is to say that it's possible that the Jedi throughout this, you know, millennia, like peace was not something that existed, it was something that was maintained, you know, like they sought out what they believed were to be, you know, either Sith remnants or dark side believers. And well,
because we still have no, here's the other thing, perfect segue into this. Jedi are being real sus in this episode, all right? What was Soul doing there? First, how did he find... And I guarantee we will get more perspectives, and I'm hoping, fingers crossed that'll happen. Because he just pops up out of nowhere. He's just watching these kids. It's like, well, how did he find them? Why is he there? What did the Jedi think of this, you know? Like, specifically...
Why is it covered up?
Right.
Why is it covered up? That's a big thing, too.
Like, it seems like these four Jedi, whatever happens, and no, the explosion that happened did not kill all the witches. We are obviously seeing a very small piece of the vision of the whole scene right there.
I don't think we see Mother Coral, to be honest with you. I don't recall seeing her in that pile of
we don't see
witches.
Kelnaka in the ship either.
No.
And Torben's face is messed up.
Yeah, you can see it. The camera's blurred, but you can see it. And we also, Mother Coral's sus, man. I don't know. Like, I've got so many questions about her. Like, her eyes. Yeah, her eyes. As soon as I saw those, I pointed out to you, I was like, dude, she's got Sith eyes, man. Like, kinda.
Yeah.
Is that 100%? I can't say. Wasn't enough focus on it for me to really tell. But I'm leaning there, maybe like 80%. Okay, so I want to know what was going on with that, and also she did seem to be very more drawn to May as opposed to Osha, and so I'm thinking, I mean, what if she's the one that, you know, like rescues May or like continues her training, right? You never know. Maybe she had a Sith connection to this apprentice, right? And ends up, diverting there.
What if she was a plant by the Sith, dude? Coral?
A plant by the Sith, maybe by Plagueis, which is how she would know how to do the creation of life sort of thing. Well,
to be like you'll go there and you'll like, well, because again, we always refer to this of like with Tenebris, he, the way he orchestrated Plagueis' birth, you know, of being able to, he like set up, you know, he had an acolyte who became.
She's the acolyte. Yeah. Or
what if I was about to say, what if there is not one acolyte, all right?
What if the acolyte was the friends we made along the way?
We are all the acolyte. No.
Yeah.
I don't know.
So there's a lot of questions there.
Yeah, I was talking to Connor from Beyond the Dune Sea like literally like an hour ago, and he's like, dude, I think the Sith is like just off the camera, like all, not like literally like, you know, every shot like he's moving, but like he's not far by, or whatever Sith is predominant at this time, you know, which I don't disagree with.
This is, mark my words, man, this is the grand plan still moving along. We just don't know exactly how or why, you know. Like, where does this fit in? I still wouldn't be surprised if this was like Plagueis' first attempt, or one of his many potentially, you know.
Or he's like, maybe it's his master. Maybe instead of it's Tenebris, maybe because, you know, Tenebris was all into science and everything. Maybe, and I'm not a Tenebris hater. That's a really cool part of that book. But say Plagueis had a different master, right, or whoever, and they tried and failed, and then Plagueis comes in as like, where you failed, I will succeed, you know?
Yeah, it's always kind of like taking up where it was left off, for better or for worse. So, this is absolutely connected in some way, shape, or form. I think it would be stupid to bring that in and then just go like, and by the way, this doesn't lead to anything, you know, related. We just thought that it was cool to put it in there, you know, and I'll just kind of, I was going to bring this up, you know, people getting upset over, like, oh, the Force has changed forever, right? No one's ever been, like, nobody was mad about this stuff in Legends, right? You know, battle meditation, being able to block a lightsaber with your hand, you know, like, there is some wild stuff in Legends. So just because it is new and seemingly outlandish, like, just because it's now canonized, you're upset because of that. But you don't want them to do the cool stuff, but you don't, like, it's very double standard kind of thing.
Yep. So you make a good point about the lightsaber, like with the hand thing, because people are like, because when did that happen in canon recently that people got mad about that, where someone was able to, like, was it Vader? No, it was maybe I'm drawing a blank or something.
Oh man, what am I thinking here? Oh, was it Ahsoka? No. Was it? Was it Survivor? Fallen Order? Wow, hold on.
I don't know, because I know in the Old Republic trailer, Satele does it to Malgus.
That was what I was referencing. Yeah,
it's sick, dude.
It's so cool.
Right.
And there's wild stuff in that MMO.
Oh, dude. I mean, I was talking to someone today about the one where one of the last ones, I think it was kind of towards the Eternal Empire, not with the twins, but it was the one after that, where
what am I talking about? The father does it in Mortis.
Yeah, he just turns it off.
Yeah, and he just goes like that and turns it off. That's absolutely nonsense.
Dude, I was randomly thinking today though of that trailer where
mad about that.
she has like the staff and it's like raining on that walkway and there's all the guards, you know, and there's the ship at the other end, and she's like, just like, dude, that fight goes crazy, dude. Like,
what people don't understand is that coolness is happening right now, and you're mad about it. Please stop.
People were mad. We didn't address this. I think we kind of did, like, that we liked it. The choreography in the Acolyte, you know, and we didn't really get a whole lot in episode 3, but the first 2 episodes, listen, man, when Jedi are doing all this Force Fu stuff, that's sick. I love that. I think it's dope.
I love the term Force Fu. You introduced that to me, and I just think that that's really neat. I cannot wait to see the Apprentice face off against Jedi here, like full team. Like, what can this guy do? Because the choreography is already nuts. So, I honestly don't know.
I think it's got to be by episode 5. I think.
You think so?
I think so. I don't know. I hope, because I need more bars dropped by that Sith Lord dude. I listened. I was listening to that quote about like when he's talking about the Jedi, and then like the Acolyte kills the dream.
The dream.
Dude, it's so good. And yet people were like, "This is terrible." I'm like, "What? What do you mean? Like, I don't get it. I don't get it."
Oh my god. People will go through. They will go to such lengths to not like something. It's like
you've already made up your mind.
Yeah, I mean, excuse my very modern terminology, but it is so cap. I swear to God, like people are just like, it sucks, and like it's like that meme of like wearing a mask of like they're crying, right? Like don't listen, dude. If you like it, don't force yourself to not. Why are you so miserable? But
anyway, it's one of those things where like so many things were introduced in Legends, and like. You know what? I truly like this was what made me like so glad that I bought those Edge of the Empire or Fantasy Flight books. Is that the foreword before the Dawn of Rebellion book literally made me almost cry, man. It was from Dave Filoni, and I posted it on our Instagram at Mortis FM. Shameless plug. I'm gonna just read this here and just kind of help like. Imagine this was Dave Filoni talking to some of the creators that were introduced to Lucasfilm, okay? And also try to think about this in a light of like as a fan, you know, and I'm just gonna read it here and I'll expound upon it here. Working at Lucasfilm, one thing that has always amazed me about the Star Wars galaxy is how many stories there are to be told within it. Star Wars seems to inspire storytelling. Star Wars seems to inspire storytelling and provides an endless array of locations, characters, vehicles, and scenarios to create the type of adventure and excitement we all love. With an RPG, you are the storyteller. The vast Imperial fleet is at your command, or the hopes and efforts of the rebellion are yours to guide. I never imagined that a Star Wars RPG would include characters from stories my team and I told, but now thanks to Fantasy Flight Games, you can pilot the Ghost to wheel and deal with Hondo Ohnaka or come face to face with Grand Admiral Thrawn. If I had one piece of advice for you, the storyteller, it would be to do things we have never done before. Push the limits of your creativity and challenge yourself and your friends. In the Star Wars universe, the only limit is your imagination. So throw the heroes into impossible situations. Make the villains more terrible and unpredictable than ones that have come before them. Just try not to get the Ghost blown up. It would make the crew here at Rebels pretty sad, but if you do destroy the Ghost, make sure it goes down fighting. Hera wouldn't have it any other way. The Force will be with you, always. Dave Filoni. So
that is so beautiful.
It's so good because, yes, that is dealing with a tabletop RPG, and I am working hard at work on a campaign for my friends. But Star Wars, quite literally, is my favorite thing ever for all the reasons he just mentioned of how expansive and how it inspires storytelling. And this applies to my view of witnessing new stories is people doing things that have never been done before, you know, new wild ideas. I mean, literally the prime example right now of like, well, what if there was a coven of witches that were secluded from all Force users and one of them created twins with the Force, you know? Nothing is saying that they can't do that. Yeah. And yes, obviously, like, it's important to try to abide by rules and things like that. But at the same time, like, limits breed creativity. And there is no limits on those specific rules right there. And so as a fan, like you said, of like, why are you miserable all the time? Like, you know, I love seeing new ideas. I mean, it was one of the main reasons why we loved Ahsoka so much, was wild stuff that we had never seen before. New galaxies. I mean, like,
yes, it was new. Because we're tired of seeing the same old thing. And yet there are people that want to see that. They're like, oh my God. There are some people out there who shall not be named that desire to see just a Vader killing spree in like every single project, you know, like just constant wish fulfillment, which is like, and then Vader shows up and he's like, rah, rah, rah. You know, like it's just, why aren't you open to new things? You know, if it Star Wars itself was groundbreaking at the time. People saw, like, there were critics that saw that movie and were like, this is garbage, you know? Like, this is so outlandish. No one's gonna want to do this. I mean, hell, what was it? Fox did not want to do Star Wars. It was only because Lucas had a friend there that was like, all right, I've convinced them, if this bombs, like, it's on you, like, you're gonna owe me one. It itself was a risk. A risk was taken, and because it was so new, people loved it so much. So you can't just praise something for how different and lovely it is and then go, I really want it to stay the same. I mean, really, it's an oxymoron, and it's hypocritical. Like, embrace the newness. I'm not saying accept things blindly. Like, if it's bad, of course it's bad, you know? But just be okay with the new. Be okay with being open with, you know, to some things happening. Like,
And there's naturally going to be crossover in stories, right? Like, there's obviously, we get a lot of stories. That's, I think, a big critique of a lot of people is how many like Imperial turncoats we get, right? You know, and it's like, like, I get that. Like, those are valid if you know, like, people more recently, Tales of the Empire, a lot of people were like they didn't like the face turn of Barriss quickly, and it's like, that's valid, you know. Like, I appreciated it. I thought it was familiar, but also felt different. It felt unique or whatever, and it's okay for, obviously, like, Star Wars has little things that makes it work, but also, I mean, my favorite Star Wars stuff, like, especially within the past decade, has been stuff like Rebels and Ahsoka, where it's like, obviously it has that familiar flair, the space battles, the rebellion, the Empire, but then you got crazy stuff like the World Between Worlds and Lothwolves and Purrgil and different galaxies and star maps, like, crazy stuff, dude.
I mean, I think one of my favorite things in Star Wars is like Knights of the Old Republic, the Old Republic era, and that is, I mean, at the time it was like, hey guys, you love Star Wars. Here is Star Wars like 2 million years, 2,000 years before. And, you know,
it feels like Star Wars.
Yeah, in that it's recognizable, and of course, like, we want things that we hold on to. I mean, if I saw, you know, a Vader killing spree scene, of course I'd eat it up. But it's not like, it's not like, you know, don't stop new content from coming through in order to, like, keep things consistent, right? Because it makes the Star Wars universe feel small. I will say it every single time. The great thing about Star Wars is that it is a galaxy. It's a whole universe of possibilities. If it's always locked to these same 5 people, it's gonna get boring, and you're gonna start going like, whoa, wait, you know, they should have been here doing that, or like, this doesn't make sense with this.
Literally, like, it's like, oh, it's the Star Wars state of America or whatever, where it's like, just like, it's just like, it's like, oh yeah, Lando Calrissian's 2 counties that way, you know?
Yeah, like, might as well just call it like the Star Wars town Albuquerque, right? Because like, you know everybody within a 5-mile margin. It's like occasionally the Clone Wars suffered from this problem where if there's a bounty hunter episode, suddenly every bounty hunter that you know is there, and there's no new ones. But I think they didn't do that all the time. It's just like there was one episode where Asajj was meeting up, and like Boba was there, Boss was there, Dengar was there, and it's like, guys, don't you have anywhere else to be? Like,
yeah.
No, yeah, I just think it's good to have some difference there.
Yeah. And obviously that's not like us saying, you know, that there shouldn't be any crossover, because you love as a fan when every now and again something gets thrown in there, right?
It's fun. Yeah,
like but also like I like seeing new things and new stories, and but like there's nuance here, okay? It's so
people love Din Djarin, right? But if they did not take that leap to start a show with a completely new character, you know, we wouldn't have him, right? They could have easily done a Boba Fett, like they could have done like The Mandalorian, and The Mandalorian was Boba, right?
Yep,
and we would have all eaten it up, myself included, you know?
Sure.
Would have been better service to his character than what happened. But but instead we got you know, someone at the drawing board was like, hey, what if it was just a different Mando, because we don't want to mess up Boba's character.
We don't see enough Mandos. Let's get a new one in there.
Yeah, and so they brought one in there, and now we love him, you know, new addition, right? So yeah, if there weren't new characters, we'd be stuck with the same old ones, which we love, but you're going to want to hear new stories. So, yeah. And now here we've got an entirely original story. There will be a Legends character coming in, as we know. We don't know who they are.
Yeah.
Might even be a Jedi, you know?
Yeah.
Might not even be a Sith, which I feel like that would be an interesting choice, but
yeah, that would be interesting. I mean, even then with like characters that we do know, like, you know, if Yoda does not show up, hey man, let's get.
That's fine. He's got other stuff to do.
Yeah, let's get Oppo Rancisis in there. Let's get Yarl Poof in there, or Huang. I mean, even if it was like very little, like, and you know, because that is the nice thing, is like you definitely like when small things like do pop in, because it does make it feel like it is the same galaxy. But when you do it too much, it feels like, oh, well, it's just kind of, it's like there's not enough. Again, it makes the galaxy feel small.
Yeah, make it feel connected. Don't make it feel small.
Yeah. One thing I'll give Book of Boba Fett credit to was when Black Chrysanthemum showed up. Awesome connection that was super original. Yeah. We had never seen on TV before.
That was very cool. And we got to see more Hutts in live action for the first time.
Yep.
You know?
Yep.
That was neat. And we got some, you know, new characters introduced there. And I don't think it did so much of a stretch as to go, you know, Boba walks past Obi-Wan's house. He's like, I wonder who used to live there. You know, like, like just that kind of stuff. I think, yeah. Was I unhappy with the Book of Boba Fett? Yeah, but there was some cool stuff that happened.
There's a lot of cool stuff. I mean,
there's a lot of cool stuff in there, but we'll do an episode about that, I'm sure.
Yeah. That's a whole rabbit hole.
But super tangential. This is all to say that it's fine that this is new, because isn't that what you wanted? You know, embrace it. If you don't like it, I get it. But give it its dues, you know? People gotta come around to stuff.
And be prepared to unlearn what you have learned, you know?
Thank you, Yoda.
Because exactly. What movie does he say that in?
I want to say that was Empire.
Does he say? I'm gonna look it up, actually. Because I swear to God, I thought that was a Yoda quote. But then I was like, no, I think that's just a saying. And then
I know that it's a
not.
Yoda quote specifically because I had gotten I was at a friend's birthday party, and he had gotten a Yoda card, like an audio card, and every time he opened it up, it would say Yoda quotes, but for some reason it would say you must unlearn what you have learned like 15 times in a row.
Every time he opens it up, he's like, I forgot I opened this card. It's the perfect spell.
Yeah.
Yes, it is true. He says you must unlearn what you have learned. So,
Is it Empire?
I think so.
Okay.
Yeah. Which is bad that I don't know that off the top of my head. So I'm a fake Star Wars fan. This podcast is over. We'll see you later.
I don't know.
But I mean, like, think about how many Star Wars quotes are more applicable than ever to what is going on right now, especially within the fandom. I saw a deleted scene, and when it pulls up, feel free to, or when you can double confirm, feel free to interrupt me.
Yeah.
But there was a deleted scene, and I'm sure a lot of people have seen this, where,
it's Empire.
Let's go. Where Anakin in Phantom Menace is actually wrestling Greedo. Have you seen this deleted scene?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Okay. Qui-Gon stops the fight, and he's like, what's going on? And he's like, oh, blah, 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 whatever. He doesn't believe me. And then Qui-Gon looks at Anakin and looks at Greedo, and he's like, do you believe him? And Greedo's basically like, no, or whatever. And then he's basically says to Anakin, well, there's nothing you can do. Like, there's nothing you can do about it. It's like fighting it will not be able to change his opinion. Like, you know the truth, and you just have to let it be. Basically, I'm paraphrasing. And that, I think, is a quote that, to put the kind of before, so we can actually kind of get back to the plot, because I have a little bit more things, but not too many. Is very applicable in the fandom right now, where it's like, listen, everybody in Star Wars has a lot of opinions. I've got opinions. Cole has opinions. Believe it or not, we have things that we disagree on. Not many, but we do.
Yeah, it's what we do.
It's what we do. But there's a line that Leia says in Battlefront 2. Oh no, she doesn't say Battlefront 2. She says it in the movies, but it was an emo, and that's why I remembered it. And she was just like, what did she say? She's like, she says something like, oh, you have your moments, not many of them, but you do.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's where I was thinking. I was just like, I have my opinions, or we have our different opinions. Not many of them, but we do.
Yeah.
And like, even in our small little corner of the Star Wars fandom, like, shout out to the guys that we constantly talk about how much we enjoy: Beyond the Dune Sea, Will of the Force, Star Wars Sith, Ashton Sherritt, Blore on Mandalore. The list goes on and on and on. We got different opinions. We all do, but we're all good buddies, right? And it's because we're able to embrace acceptance and unity and reject being at each other's throats for no good reason.
It is goddamn civil discussion.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I get that you're mad, Stop yelling at me, man. I just told you it was cool, Like, I'll
never get the idea of someone being like, I think this is cool, and then you being like, you shouldn't. It sucks.
Exactly.
Like there is room to be had where, like, I remember a moment, and even to this I feel bad about, but I remember when my girlfriend and I were watching through the Star Wars movies, and we got to Force Awakens, and she was like, I really liked that movie, and I was like, well, and I don't want to say the reasons, like the reasons why I have problems with that movie, and but she was like, she wanted to talk about it, and I was like, well, like, the map thing kind of doesn't make sense. That was really my big problem, and then mainly like where it leaves off, things that we have hashed over before, and she was like, oh yeah, like, that doesn't make sense, and I was like, oh, now I feel like I've ruined it for you, It's like, but even then, like, I still, like, I'll throw, if I was sitting there and I didn't have anything else to do and Force Awakens was the only Star Wars movie I had, I'd throw that on and have a great time. So,
it's still one of my favorite theater experiences of all time. I still had an absolute blast watching that movie, and I walked away being so excited for the future of Star Wars. So, like,
exactly.
But yeah, there's always going to be stuff that you don't enjoy. There are things about every single Star Wars movie that I'm like,
if we wanted to, we could, but we don't.
Right. I don't see much purpose in constantly being mad over something. And
yes,
we say this like basically every other episode, but like, there's no reason to just be so negative.
Yes.
Like,
why are
I think,
mad?
Why are you mad? I think Mortis FM is essentially this construct that is anti negative, you know, because it almost unconsciously we made this, or subconsciously we did this while asleep, almost subconsciously we made this to kind of counteract a very powerful negativity. Darkness rises and light to meet it, right? And so again, I will reiterate, and hopefully for the last time this episode, it's totally fine if you don't like something, because obviously I have a lot of stuff that I don't like. I'm not the biggest sports fan, you know, but like I don't run around looking at people who like sports and go like, I hate you, you suck, you know, please die, you know. And
the amount when people, that's so funny you mentioned that. Like, there's people that I know that they're like, oh, yeah, sports, I'm not really into that. You're like, okay, like, I'm not the biggest sports guy either. I'm like, I'm not gonna take it away from the people who love, you know, college
what do you
football.
Want, a medal? You know, like people love to argue about stuff. Yeah. I don't like to argue. I like to have a good debate, but I don't like to argue. You know, I don't like to just be negative for the sake of it, because then I'm just upset. And I mean, what's the point in that? So, you know, like what I said earlier about, you know, people wanting there to be a Darth Vader killing spree in every single thing. Am I mad at you for wanting that? No. I disagree. I think that I think that having that as everything will get very stale very fast.
I'll be like, am I getting a little too much Vader right now?
Yeah, you know? I think having it in, like, say, Rogue One, that was awesome, you know, because it was completely unexpected, and it was something that just kind of takes you by surprise. But do I want everyone, like every single movie and show to have a Vader killing scene? No. Like, I think it's very cool. But it's not all 100%. It's not a requirement to be good.
Yeah.
Some people just have that at the top of their checklist. But what I'm saying is that I'm not trying to stop you from liking that, because guess what? There's a little bit of Star Wars for everybody.
Absolutely. Find the thing in Star Wars that you like. That's really the final message here is like, and if you like this, if you like the Acolyte, that's awesome, because I mean we do too, and also, like, we'll just go ahead and say it. I mean, like, we'd be very hard pressed not to watch a new Star Wars thing when it comes out. We just do that. That's just our thing, because we love Star Wars, and we are people that really love all facets of Star Wars. So we are naturally very open-minded when it comes to these new stories, because
and also very critical in case we feel like something is either not particularly faithful or just kind of trash.
yeah.
So yeah, we are not we aren't just gonna sit here and like harp on why you should love like all this stuff. Not saying you need to love everything, but give it its chance, and if someone else likes it, don't stop them from doing it, as long as it's not hurting anybody, you know?
And the final thing that I'll say is, when it comes to Star Wars, find the reason why you love Star Wars.
Yeah.
I saw there's someone, she's a great person in the community, Isabella Amadala. She put out a post, I want to say it was after our episode last week, and she basically was like, because of the discourse and everything, she was saying, like, you know, a lot of people have lost why they love Star Wars, you know? And like you said, the reason why we created this podcast is because I was like, man, I love Star Wars. And that was our thing, you know? We were like, bro, we just got to talk about this, right? And so returning to the roots of our childhood of when a new game comes out, or picking up that book from the Scholastic Book Fair, or seeing a cool comic or a cool action figure, you know, and just being like, new Star Wars, that's awesome. You know?
Yeah, 100%. So. Well, to quote Yoda here, the dark side is not stronger. It is quicker. It is easier. It is more seductive. It is so easy to be mad at something. When you see an influencer, which unfortunately in the Star Wars community there are a lot of them that do this, that will compel you to think negatively about a project, you need to stop and think for yourself and say, am I actually mad at this product, or am I mad because someone else told me to be mad?
Told me to.
For me personally, I would like it if you thought positively about things, but I'm not telling you to. I'm not telling you to like the Acolyte. I'm telling you to watch it objectively, you know, and then see what you think. Like, so yeah, open-mindedness. That's all.
Yeah.
So anyway, back to episode 3.
Yeah, I was about to say, I was like, we've ranted about that long enough, and it was intertwined with a lot of our thoughts. So we addressed kind of, you know, the way they described the Force, with that being the thread. We talked a little bit about, of course, the conception of May and Osha.
That was what started the whole thing, I think.
Yeah,
the conception discourse.
Yeah, and I mean, hey, like it's at least between us, like it's a fun discussion. I'm honestly trying to think of things that immediately come to mind other than this episode. Like, I really don't have many other thoughts other than I'm excited to see more of these perspectives. Like,
yeah.
Here's the one perspective that which I know we're gonna get. I anticipate we'll likely get maybe not 3 like strict perspectives, but definitely to intertwine the main key players here. And I would say the key players being the witches and the Jedi. So and you could even split that up into like Sol and Anastasia. But then the big one that really I'm most intrigued with is May's perspective, because in the episode she even says when Osha gets out of the burning room and they run into each other again on that like broken catwalk, and then Sol comes in shortly after. She says, May says to Osha, like, you know, or I think one of them says it's all your fault, and then they're like, no, it's your fault.
Well,
they
say, Osha says, May, what have you done? And then May says, what have you done? You know?
Yeah, and so it's like, what's happening, or like what happened when May left to make her think that Osha did this, you know? And that's why I think there has to be an external party manipulating this, you know.
We haven't. Taz.
Oh,
Taz does this big stretch.
Is she?
She got a haircut. I don't know if anyone noticed.
Oh, she looking clean.
Yeah, she got a haircut. Hello. Okay. Anyway, so actually, one thing I will mention: May and Osha as kids, very different. Very different. You kind of think that usually they would adhere to the traditional twin stereotype in stories where, like, you know, they finish each other's sandwiches, right? And like there's
sandwiches. Is that a saying?
Yeah, it's a. Well, now I have to explain it. It's like so there's this joke where, like, if you are really connected with someone will go like, oh, we're so connected, we'll even finish each other's, and then the other person is usually supposed to say sentences, but then the joke turned into sandwiches because the joke is that they actually don't understand the connection there. And with May and Osha, it's more the sandwich situation where they aren't that connected. Osha wants to be a Jedi. Osha doesn't. Well, I mean, I think more or less Osha just doesn't want to be a witch, you know, and being a Jedi was like her way out of that. But May is like, I'm a witch. Osha, you're also a witch. You want to be a witch. Like she's very controlling, very possessive as well. Like
by the end of it, she's like, if you're not gonna be a witch, I'm gonna kill you.
I know.
Like, whoa!
Like oh my god! Like what's going on? You know. So very clear differences there. And
I think that that reason alone, you make a great point, is why I'm so partial to think that there is some sort of malicious influence in their creation, you know, like, yes, they love each other and they have that saying of, you know, there's the like their little nursery rhyme thing that they do, you know, they're kind of like you know, like what it's like, something is one but born as two, right?
I picked this up from the beginning, and I haven't talked about it until right now because it's only now relevant. I have noticed that it is specifically, at least at the very end, it is one-sided, because May at the end will say, I give you you, and Osha says, and you give me me. Mm-hmm. It's not them, you know, giving ideas of themselves to each other. It's only May projecting things onto Osha the entire time. Osha doesn't say, and I give you you as well. You know, it's just May says, I give you you, and Osha's like, and you give me me, you know? So it's very...
That is a great... Yeah.
It's very one-sided. It's very like, I am projecting this onto you, and you're going to be okay with that. So...
Yeah.
I think that is something to be aware of.
Which is also in character because it's like, yeah, well, it doesn't justify like May wanting to, let me set my sister on fire. But at the same time, it's like, May does feel like she, I guess, is in a weird way giving a lot to Osha, and of course, like she wants to stay as a witch or whatever. She has no desire to leave, but Osha is like, I want to leave, like I want to make this decision. Like, why can't I make this decision? Why can't I go with the Jedi,
And it's just like, no, you don't. You don't want this, actually. You'll come around,
Yeah.
Very controlling. And Mother Coral is a big fan of May, who happens to be adhering to very Sith ideals.
Yeah. I wonder if we'll get more of Coral. I'm not sure. But then, what's also interesting is Osha wants to be a Jedi so badly, and I saw this in Star Wars Explains breakdown, and what's interesting is ultimately she doesn't become a Jedi, or she doesn't stay with being the Jedi. She leaves, which is kind of what they say ends up actually being true. She doesn't stick with it,
Yeah, I think Osha is
very.
She's kind of like the drifting type. She doesn't commit to those sorts of things. I mean, that's because she's afraid of that sort of commitment. But also, we don't really know what went down, I think, to kind of lead her to that decision. So with this flashback episode, lots of new information, but there's still missing pieces. We've seen things from essentially one perspective. We know the events as Osha sees them, and now they will likely be presented to us. The truth will be presented to us from her perspective as well.
Yeah. Like we said, like Last Jedi situation, where I think we said that on our first 2 episodes or whatever, where it was like, okay, we'll get the one perspective, and we might get another perspective, and then we'll get the full picture,
And there's a lot of picture left to be had. I think my only hope is that there is. I think I told you this, off the record. Was that I don't wish for there to be another full flashback episode.
Yeah.
Specifically because I don't think that the show has enough time for it. But then again, I don't know the entirety of the plot, so maybe it does.
It's definitely an interesting placement to have this episode as well, because it was I would have been certain that like a flashback episode would have been more towards the middle of the show, and yes, while technically next week is the middle of the show, I was sure it would be like, well, here's all the here's kind of the progression, and then we hop back, but it was like, here's the first 2, we're hopping back right now, which is interesting.
I guess in terms of the presentation, we left off essentially with May and Osha meeting as adults for the first time since they were children. And now it's like, okay, so now you want to know the deets. What do we know from Osha's perspective? Here we go. This is everything that she knows. And so now, at least from the light side, I did air quotes for audio listeners, we're now caught up to speed, and so now we can move forward. And I think that's healthy presentation. But I very much would like for us to be in the present, come Tuesday. So.
Yeah, because I want to get a little bit more of what's happening in the now. I want to see more of Kelnaka, and that honestly,
I want to see more of the Sith, man.
Yes, dude. Like, and honestly, I think with both of those pieces, like, when they go to the planet that Kelnaka is on or whatever, that will give a lot of... I mean, that is presumably the planet where the Sith fights all those Jedi. So that could happen this week,
Yeah.
And I'm ready for some good lightsaber choreography. They say they're trying to cook it up. That's all I'm saying. So
there's a lot left to be done. Lots of missing pieces. So
yeah. I honestly, I don't have that many thoughts. I don't really have any more thoughts. I have really said my piece on like the major things, and if I haven't said it, you've expressed exactly what I need to say. So,
well, I gave my required lecture for the next couple episodes. I feel like I have a tendency. Did. Yeah, I feel like I have a tendency to just go like, all right, guys, let's sit down, and I'm going to talk to you about how to enjoy things properly.
Yeah.
But
it's listen. I think as fans and also as content creators, like it is important for us to be able to speak up about these sort of things, especially when it is so prevalent in the fandom that we hold so near and dear because listen, I like interacting with people, man. I like, you think about Celebration, like that's my goal is I want it to feel like that with fans forever.
We're trying to cultivate that, or we're at least trying to make it more known. Because there's too many people that just kind of give in to the hate.
Yes.
They take the easy path. Right. Yeah. Just trying to cultivate positivity because not only am I a passionate Star Wars fan, I'm a passionate people fan. I believe in people, and I believe in the good in people. And so I really like just helping people not feel miserable anymore.
Yeah.
So
speaking of that, by the way, we just literally hours before this, it'll be a little bit after, we just finished with myself, Seth from Beyond the Dune Sea, and Will of the Force. We did our first half of The Living Force, and that, what you just said is very applicable to that book because there's a lot of moving pieces in terms of like different characters, but what the book is really good at is showing the Jedi interact with people on a small scale. It's like what I am a big Superman fan, and I said this on the episode of like I like when Superman like believes in people and he's the guy he's gonna shake the firefighter's hand or get the cat out of the tree or walk the old lady across the street, or whatever it may be. And that book is kind of like the Jedi's example of that, where they're like they get off their butt and they're gonna go help some people out, whether it's some people who lost their jobs because of a speeder company, or picking up trash, or helping some students learn from basically like like an inner city school, just stuff like that of just helping them on that ground level. So to akin that to full circle, before we do our chat pack question, that is that's what we're trying to do, but with the Star Wars fandom, even if it's just a little bit. So
Spread
again,
positivity.
for all of you, for all the new people, we hope you feel that, and let us know if we're doing a bad job. I don't think we are, but if we are, let us know.
Just comment down below you're doing a bad job, and
I'll be like,
know.
Thanks for the good news.
Thanks for the good
Oh
fact
my
I'm
gosh,
very
bro.
proud of.
Shut up. Get out. Wait, no, don't do that. That's a bad one. Jabba's Rancor keeper loves his Rancor.
Same.
Which Star Wars creature do you find cute even if no one else does?
Oh man.
Trying to think of one that's like people
That people
relatively
think is ugly.
kind of ugly, yeah.
Kind of ugly.
Because everybody thinks loth cats are cute. Everybody thinks porgs are cute. You know what I think is cute? I don't know if people don't think that they're cute or not, but I'm gonna. This might be a bad take, so I'll try to find another one. But my first example, banthas. I think banthas are adorable.
Banthas are so adorable.
I know they got their
They
weird
got
big
such
mouths.
big chompers. Yeah.
Yeah.
And I always just think back to Lego Star Wars with banthas, man.
Dude, that was the heck, bro.
Hey man, I'm Bantha. Nice to meet you. Like a Bantha. Man, this is actually kind of.
Do people consider tauntauns ugly?
Some
People. Han doesn't like them.
Han probably does. Yeah.
I like tauntauns. I'd give one a hug. I like tauntauns. What else?
Okay, I'm gonna go the Star Wars route actually, because in canon, people are very. Nobody really likes Wookiees, to be honest. Wookiees, what I hear Wookiees getting a lot of flack. Walking carpet, Princess Leia, caught in 4K. All that stuff. People just put so much crap on Wookiees. I think that they are beautiful.
Dude,
Beautiful
Wookiees are my
species.
favorite species in Star Wars. I love Wookiees,
they're
bro.
great. So I love them. I also think Max Rebo is really cute.
That's great.
When in actuality, he's just a scummy fat key player,
Yeah.
Where the man probably stinks, but he's cute. It's just his face. I don't know. Just those big eyes and long snout.
You know what?
He's just a blue elephant.
He literally is just a blue elephant. I think
That's the Robot Chicken skit. Actually, that's just so funny. It's a Max Rebo Robot Chicken skit where it's an advertisement for his upcoming album, where it's essentially all of his songs are variations of him telling people that he's not a blue elephant.
I've never seen that.
And
one,
his
dude.
hit track, "I Swear I'm Not a Blue Elephant." I'm gonna have to show you that after we wrap up here.
Please do. You know, my favorite, I think the Star Wars creature that I think is cute, even if no one else does, is Emperor Palpatine. I'm just kidding. He's ugly. You can't change my mind.
Ian McDiarmid, beautiful man. Aged real well, you know. But Palpatine, Potato Palpatine. Also, honorable mention. Sorry, honorable mention. Nexu. Nexu are terrifying. Cute. They got big old chompers. But like,
bro.
But if one was nice, it just looks like a cute little possum cat creature thing.
Mine, honestly, even though it is actually kind of scary, it really, really is. However, I think if it was on your good side, it would like you a lot. I really like maybe a Dianoga.
Yeah.
The one with the trash compactor monster for anybody who is.
Yeah, why not? Why not?
Yeah, I don't know. They're kind of cute. Like, yeah, do they have like teeth underneath all of their like tentacles and stuff? Like,
are they 100% terrifying? Yeah, but kind of cute. You know?
I'd be like, yeah, come here, guy. Come here, little guy.
And then you just get drowned.
Dude, yeah, I mean, I'm just.
He don't bite.
And he immediately gets just drowned. Yeah, and I mean, honestly, to go back to the base of the question, I do think Rancors are honestly like, I don't think they're that gross. I kind of like them, especially in Bad Batch with the baby Rancor, bro.
Oh man, that baby Rancor is so cute.
I know.
Like if I had a pet Rancor, I would go, "That's my son."
Dude, that was literally the keeper, bro. He was like. That was like his lifelong childhood dog, bro.
Yeah, I mean the Rancor wasn't evil, extremely carnivorous, but not evil. Man,
he was just hungry.
What are you gonna do?
It was animal abuse. They starved that Rancor, and Luke had to do it to survive. That's on them.
100% was.
I think the Rancor keeper should have killed Jabba sooner for that.
You know what?
Bro, you're starving my dog.
You know what? The special edition Sarlacc pit with the
like
beak.
The beak?
Yeah. Yeah. That would be kind of cute. Yeah, whatever.
That's so funny.
You know, Yoda, 900 years old man. It's adorable.
Yoda, the 900-year-old man. He's actually just a dude.
I mean, we don't know his species, so I'm just gonna say man, a human man.
Green, big-eared,
green guy,
man. Big gooberfish, very cute.
Big gooberfish, huge old teeth.
I don't know. If I had to pick one, I'm going bantha. Going bantha. I don't know. Whatever. I think all of them are cute. Yeah, there's too many. I'd have to look through a whole catalog and.
That big frog in front of Jabba's palace.
Oh my gosh, I love that thing.
Yeah.
That's great. That's a good one. He goes ribbit. I don't know what he does. But
Rada the Hutt. A little baby like Jabba's son.
Yeah.
He's so ugly, but he's adorable.
He's so cute, dude. Also, I love how also it's the prompt is creatures, but we're just listing out like also just sentient species, which is fine. Probably like Watto. No, I'm not. That's not Watto. Dude. He's ugly.
Watto stank.
Dude,
especially episode 2 Watto.
Dude, you know he just is rancid.
He stinks. Anyway.
Yeah.
That was actually my first gag question, was I asked you what Watto smelled like.
I forgot about that.
We're going full circle.
What did I even say?
Just, I think both of us just felt like gagging, so let's move on. Yeah.
Well, that's going to do it for this episode of Mortis FM, the Star Wars podcast. You can follow us, at least the Mortis side of things, at Mortis FM on Instagram and wherever else, basically. I forget to iterate this because I forget it exists sometimes. If you like our stuff and you feel like it, there's no pressure. We have a Buy Me a Coffee down there. That's we put a good amount of time and effort.
I have a cold brew problem. So
yeah, are you a cold brew guy now?
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
That happens.
Yeah, obviously.
What can I do?
We like coffee, and it's actually applicable because we're both actually quite tired right now.
Oh, I don't know if anyone's noticed, visual or audio learners, like I'm exhausted. While Grayson was starting to wrap up, I did like a massive yawn. I'm losing it.
He's going to lay down. I'm going to lay down. But go follow us on all those platforms if you haven't already. If you're new, we appreciate you being here. Thanks for listening to the whole thing. You can follow me at Shrates8. You can follow that handsome fella at the.drifter. But listen, if you don't want to type in all that stuff, everything is in the link in the bio, whether on Spotify, Apple, YouTube, you name it, it's down there. Go down there and click it.
The important part is that you're here, and we love you for it.
Exactly.
So thanks for sticking around. And we'll see you soon. And Grayson, full honesty, man, may the force be with you.
Dude, always.
God.